Okay, we're doing 5A today, finding the percent or whole. So given the part of something and given either the percent or the whole, you can figure out the other one. If you know the part and the percent, you can figure out the whole. If you know the part and the whole, you can figure out the percent. So a lot of the stuff that you need to know, we went over in 5.7. So it's going to make this a little bit easier to go over this material. But just some reminders from the last session. If you're using an equation, when you see the phrase what number or what is, what would stand, let's pick n to be the number that you don't know, is, put an equals in for, of means times, this x again means times, so I want to emphasize that. And then this proportion, the part to the whole equals the percent, and the percent is n over 100. So this is also true, that the part to the whole equals n over 100, which is how you actually use this. The number after of is the whole thing, because sometimes it's hard in a phrase to determine what is the part and what is the whole. So you can use that clue to really help you out. So I want to solve some problems that were presented in your book. And I might just pick one which seems to be the most convenient way to do these. The first is what percent of 20,000 is 18,000. Now if you look at that one, before I show you a way to do it, you might be able to figure out another method that I haven't even really talked about, because the numbers are very convenient and compatible in being able to figure out what percent 18,000 is of 20,000. I'm going to go ahead and work through, I think I'm going to go ahead and use cross products on this one. So for what percent, well, let me go, we usually I have talked about part to whole being on the left side, so I'll do that first. After of comes 20,000. And we don't know what percent it is, so we're going to say out of 100. You know what, let me go back over and do something else. You can always start, if you're going to use part to whole, you can start with this framework. A division bar equals and then a division bar. And you can always, if you're going to use part to whole equals percent, you can always put a 100 in here. And that's helped some classes that I've taught in the past to just have that consistent way of approaching it. So I would recommend that to you, because then you've got 3 other positions to fill in, and you'll have 2 numbers, and you just have to find the slots for them. So we know that after of is the whole thing, which is in this position, so we can just fill in 20,000 here. This number is obviously not a percent. If it was a percent, it would go up here, so this must be the part. And then the thing we don't know is what percent, which makes sense if you read the statement. You see we don't know what percent it is, so we'll put an n there. And then so if I multiply, I get 20,000 times n. I'm so tempted to do something else here before I do this, maybe you can figure out what it is, but I'm not going to. 20,000 times n equals 100 times 18,000. Divide both sides by 20,000. Now I'm going to do what I was really tempted to do both over here and cross off 3 zeros here, 3 zeros here, 1 0 here, and 1 0 here. And we get, and then I can go, how many 2's are in 2? 1, how many 2's are in 10? 5. Those cross out, and n would equal 5 times 18, or 90, so it's 90 out of 100, or 90%. So that's using the cross product method. Have you thought about another way to do this? Which would be, we're going to be comparing 18,000 to 20,000. So knock off 3 zeros here. Reduce 18 over 20 to 9 over 10. 9 out of 10 is 90%. Actually way easier than the other method. So let's go look at another one. What percent of 80 is 210? So I didn't use equations on the first one. I'm going to go ahead and do that with this one. We don't know what percent is, so we're going to say n% of 80 times 80 equals 210. So it doesn't look too bad. I might rewrite it this way, EDN, because it's more algebra-like to do that. Divide both sides by 80. And by the way, this should have kind of sound a little weird to you. Say what percent of 80 is 210? Because this is the whole thing, and because it follows the word of, and this is the part, and the part is larger than the whole. But remember from a couple videos ago, that can happen. So don't be surprised if this comes to be, it will come out to be more than 100%. It should, it will. That cancels, we take a 0 off of here. N equals 21 over 8, which is certainly going to be more than 1. 1 is 100%. In fact, it's even more than 2, so it's going to be more than 200%. We can just set up a little division bracket here. I think we're going to have to go 2 places here. We'll figure it out. 8 goes into 21 2 times. Major 5, bring the 0 down. 8 goes into 56 times. We're going to have another 0. 8 goes into 22 times. Major 4, bring down the other 0. And 8 goes into 45 times. So, this is not, these are the digits in the percent, but we have to convert this decimal number to a percent. And, oh, you bring this up here. It's really 2.625, because I forgot to bring the decimal straight up. So it's 2.625, and we have to convert this decimal number. It's still a decimal number. We have to convert it to a percent by multiplying it by 100 and putting a percent sign after it. So if we multiply it by 100, it effectively moves the decimal 2 places to the right. So it's 262.5%. And your intuition should help you with that. You know, what part of 21 is between 2 and 3 times as large as 8. So it's between 2 and 300% of 8. We'll do one more problem. It's a little tricky one. 16 2/3% of what number is 9.5? And this problem looks very imposing because of the percent and a fraction of a percent and then a decimal number. And there's really no way you're going to figure this out mentally, probably unless you're really, really skilled, like a math genius. So you're going to have to rely on the technique. This one, because of what you should know about 16 2/3%, this one is going to be one that you would do best. The best strategy would be the part to whole equals percent. Because you can change this, well, let's just write it out. We write our brackets. We put 100 here. We put of what number, that's the whole thing, and we don't know what that is, so it goes in the slot where a whole goes, which puts 9.5 here and puts 16 2/3%, or 16 2/3 here. This represents 16 2/3%. So what fraction have you learned that is the same as 16 2/3%? Because this is really messy. You can do it like that, but it's way easier to substitute 1/6. Because that's what 16 2/3% equals. And then just keep this, 9.5 over n. So you've seen a problem like that, where if you would have had 33 1/3%, you can use the fraction 1/3 for that. So some of these, they may look really hard, but if you remember what you've learned, you can make them pretty easy. So then, this is really kind of nice, because n is going to equal 9.5 times 6. And if you do the multiplication, you get 57. So there's different, some sample problems, and you just have to kind of generalize from the examples given to solve the ones that you'll be practicing.